What was the most important tool in Jesus' ministry? In the history of the church? Was it giant cathedrals? Was it stained glass windows? Was it fog machines, sound systems? What about lasers? No, it's this, food and drink. Eating and drinking was a key to Jesus' life and work. In fact, Jesus used food and drink and meals around tables to change the world, and you can too. Today, we're gonna unpack the beautiful picture of community that's put to page in the Bible and how a simple thing that you're already doing every day could be repurposed to change the social and emotional landscape of your life and of our world. But before we get there, I want to tell you something that I actually learned while watching Ted Lasso a few months back. You know, scientists used to believe that trees competed with each other for sunlight and resources in like a Darwinian battle. But what we're learning now is that's actually not the case. Trees actually work together to grow and grow best when they're together.
Deep in Sequoia National Park, towering around 380 feet tall, stand the giants of the forest. The tallest trees on Earth, the giant sequoias. Many of these trees are over 2,000 years old, and these colossal sequoias withstand strong winds, earthquakes, fires, storms, flooding, and time. The giant sequoias are equipped with a root system that's relatively shallow, going down only 6 to 12 feet deep. Remarkable given their size, weight, and stature. How is it these mammoth trees rarely fall over? These trees have been designed with roots that reach out and around and intertwine with the roots of the neighboring sequoias. They are linked together by an underground network that proves to be unwaveringly strong. They are held up by their community. There, in nature, God gives us a picture of a rooted community, an ability to sustain in difficult times, to withstand, to grow, and to thrive. Beautifully and uniquely linked together by community.
Well, you and I aren't that different. We grow better together when we're with other people, right? And today I'm going to show you not just what Jesus had to say about community, but how you can grow your own. I'd propose to you that the most useful tool that Jesus had at his disposal was something that is sitting in the middle of your kitchen right now. No, it's not your Vitamix or even your coffee machine, but your table. And let me just stop here. We've been on this journey now, looking to grow, looking at these different practices, trusting that something in them will grow us, will stretch us, will bring us to a new place. There's a reason why we're ending on this idea of community. It's because all those other great things happen best when we don't do them alone, when we do them in the context of community. We can be like those redwoods, where we grow tall, where we grow strong, where we build something and grow something that lasts for generations. That's how you and I can follow Jesus' example for using our tables not just as a platform to consume calories from, but as a catalyst for community, for growth, for life change that can change the world. Matthew and Luke's Gospels both catch a really unique phrase on this topic that was lost on me until recently. The phrase goes like this: the Son of Man. The Son of Man came. It's used twice in short succession that would have been like a highlighter. It would have jumped off the page to the people hearing it at the time. They would have intuitively recognized that these two uses of this phrase mean that they go together, like two sides of a coin. It's only given to you. Matthew 18:11 says, the Son of Man came to seek and save that which is lost. This is just beautiful. This is Jesus' mission. It's his purpose. It's his what. It's what he came to do, right? To seek and save the lost. But it's followed up with Matthew 11:19 that says this: the Son of Man came eating and drinking. It actually goes on to say, the Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, here's a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. This was like people knocking on Jesus for hanging with the people who didn't measure up. But the Son of Man came eating and drinking is Jesus. How? It shows us that Jesus' best tool for ministry was the table, and he understood that a meal isn't just a meal. It's setting the table to grow with God and other people. Around a table, people are invited into a family. They're nourished not just to survive, but to thrive. For example, just in the book of Luke, there are 10 stories that happen at meals, where enemies are forgiven, where the outcasts are invited in, where the hungry are fed. Man, you've got reconciliation, you've got social justice, you've got rest, service, humility, storytelling, great wine, comfort food, and more, all happening around a table. But the table isn't most people's picture of church, right? If I were to ask you to send me a picture of a church, you'd probably send me something with a stage or a steeple. And those are totally fine. Those are buildings though, not the church. The church is people. It's you and me. Scripture's really clear about this. So how did we get from a poor, homeless, itinerant rabbi and some fishermen to massive auditoriums and fog machines? Well, let me give you just a little bit of a history. And so I'll be honest, I'm gonna nerd out on you for like 2 minutes. So when Christianity first started, it was illegal. Like it was seen as like the punk rock alt culture to mainline Judaism or Roman paganism. It was under the radar, and those who practiced it were persecuted. It was made up mostly of like small clusters of families living in close-knit communities where they like lived, worked, worshiped, and ate in really close proximity to each other. I actually had a chance to visit one of these homes in a place called Capernaum, where like they're pretty sure they found Peter, like St. Peter's legit home. It's like 100 feet from the temple on one side, 100 feet from the Sea of Galilee on the other. Like Jesus probably stayed in it. It was so cool. Anyway, but this was a time in the life of the church, of Christian community, where they couldn't gather publicly. And so their architectural choice of the time was, you guessed it, a home gathered around, you know it by now, a table, right? So their architectural choice, the building was a home gathered around a table, emphasizing community. Fast forward a few hundred years, and you've got this guy, Emperor Constantine, who ruled the Roman Empire. He converted to Christianity. Some would say this was legit. Others would say it was like opportunistic. You saw the writing was on the wall. But overnight almost, an illegal sect suddenly became the official religion of an empire. And as a result of that, there was a bunch of empty temples to like Zeus and whatever that were all of a sudden vacant and got turned into churches, right? These temples and later cathedrals, man, they were big. They emphasized the majesty of God through art and architecture. The acoustics were terrible. It didn't matter because the sermons were all in Latin, which like nobody understood, but they had stained glass. They had ceilings that stretched to the heavens. They had stuff like covered in gold. Their architecture was a temple gathered around an altar, and it emphasized ritual. Okay, phase 3 in our history goes a little bit like this. So after 1,000 or so years, including the Dark Ages, a little thing called the Reformation hit. Martin Luther was a guy who saw a bunch of abuses by the Catholic Church, and he nailed 98 theses or complaints against the church, like to the wall of the church. It was a bold move. So as a reaction, like there was a split that happened where Luther basically said, hey, if people understood, really knew, like were taught what the Bible says, they would understand and we wouldn't be subject to these different abuses and they wouldn't be taken advantage of. So their architecture took on the characteristics of a lecture hall, like tiered seating around a central stage or podium where the acoustics were good, people could hear, and sight lines were good. And look in any church building of the last couple hundred years, including Crossroads ones, and this is still kind of the prevailing idea. A lecture hall style building centered around a stage emphasizing teaching. Now, I love big auditoriums with lights and sound systems so everyone can hear every word. I was a musician for most of my life, but I just don't think that on their own they're enough. What if each of our iterations since that time of Jesus leaves something good on the table that needs to be recaptured? I've been in ministry, working at churches since I was 17 years old, and maybe the purest example of church that I've ever experienced didn't happen on a stage. It happened in a home around a table. That's what I want for you. This journey is all for naught if we can't figure out how to do these proven practices in the context of community. So this is my wife, Rachel. She's amazing. She leads a lot of the work that happens in our Crossroads Anywhere space, and she's frankly like the leader that I want to be when I grow up. But we also got to walk through this thing called, figuring out community and how it happens around our table together. And I wanted you to hear from her directly about that.
Yeah, so we were newlyweds, I think, and we were doing this study at Crossroads where you're supposed to actually practice the thing you were reading. Crazy.
Crazy.
And so we got to the part about the early church and how they met around tables, and somebody specifically joked, so when are we going to start meeting together daily? And we're like, haha, yeah, right. Nobody has time for that.
Right.
And then we're like, okay, how about weekly? So we start this weekly dinner. We're super excited about it. You love to cook.
Yeah.
We thought we would bring all our friend groups together and everybody would just click.
It would align, like
work.
everybody's crazy schedules would align around our
Just come to
schedule
our
and our house. It'd be really convenient and beautiful.
Yes, and so we sent the emails, texted everybody, cooked a big dinner, and waited, like they're just late. And like literally no one showed up. Nobody came.
It was so sad.
To our first one.
So sad.
Then it was, you could give up at that moment, but we were just like, okay, maybe we just gotta do it differently. And so we just started experimenting. And I think we started letting go of the idea that, okay, everything's gonna align perfectly with our favorite people. And we're just like, maybe we just do the thing and see what it needs to be, like who needs this versus like what do we need. And we just kept doing it. We just kept opening our home and to see who showed up. So the first people to really commit were our friends, Matt and Katie, and they just started coming every single week. Like literally, I think they came every week for like 4 years.
Yes.
They never missed. They had multiple children during this time, and it was amazing. And just having those two other people as the anchors of the group up front made it great. And then slowly, more people would just start to come. So the next person was our friend Anissa. She was our neighbor. She lived upstairs. She seriously saved the group because she taught us really early on that it wasn't an entertainment thing, it was a hospitality thing. And the biggest way she did that was just by helping.
Yeah.
Like she's from Libya, so she's from a culture where like eating big tables, big meals, lots of people is normal. And so she was just always the first one to like get up and help us clean the dishes.
Yes.
So that actually when people left, our house was cleaner than before they came. Because
Hear us on that. When we
an important
finished
aspect.
a dinner for a boatload of people, our house was cleaner than we started. I know, it sounds miraculous, sounds too good to be true, but just find yourself a person like Anissa is amazing.
Yes, and she would just drop off 10-pound bags of rice at our door because we were always just trying to figure out cheap ways to feed a lot of people. And she would literally wash all the dishes and hand people brooms. And then people just started following her lead. Like they would just start doing that too.
And there was, like, what started as a meal for our friends grew into a meal for not our friends and sort of like a surrogate family. Like that was one of the trends, was like people who either didn't have community nearby or didn't have community at all, they were drawn to this thing, and it became a really special thing where God was just a natural part of the conversation. It wasn't a program, but it really amazing stuff happened. Talk about like some of the good stuff that came in that season that we didn't expect.
Yeah, like there was no content. It was just dinner, but over time, I think just the nature of people showing up for each other over time, and at least most of the group knowing God. When somebody needed something, we would just help. Like something would come up around the table, and we'd either say, "Well, hey, we'll pray for that," or, "Can we actually help you with that this week? Like, can we come around you?" And we baptized somebody in our bathtub. We had some friends that were struggling financially, like really bad, and it was amazing that they always knew they just had a place to eat.
Yeah.
Like they just had a place that they knew they were going to get good food at least once a week, and we'd send them home with the leftovers, and it was just easy and natural, and it wasn't weird. And if somebody had any need, they didn't have to fill out a form and wait for the church to get back to them because they were just already with the church. If they had a God question, they didn't have to ask a stranger or wait for a pastor. They would just ask somebody there. And people started growing in their faith and having friends. And, it's funny, this was years ago now, this exact group, but we've been struck lately as we've been adopting, like the main people who are showing up for us, helping us adapt, are all our friends from that time. Like, they're the first ones to start donating, to start talking to us about it, start helping, because it really did just become a family. Like, it was a random group of people who did not know each other, but just started eating together every week and became some of our best friends.
Yeah.
There were definitely some nights that we didn't want to do it. Like, community is not always fun. Like, to think of something every week, that feels exhausting just to think about sometimes. And
It's daunting.
even in the moment, it is sometimes. Like, there are plenty of nights where we thought, maybe we should just cancel. But I actually think the weekliness is what makes it good, because that's where our relationships could grow. Like, even if we were super tired before people came over, after they left, we weren't. We felt better, like we felt more connected, we felt more energized, because we had people. And like, we all just need people to grow. We need people to, cheer us up. And I feel like that's always what happened. Like, even on the nights that weren't the best,
Right.
there's still something that happens in community that fills you up.
And ours isn't the only example of this that we've seen. Like, people out of our open house dinner, they started their own. There were brunches, there were other really cool examples of open, accessible community. And actually, I just heard of one this week that I want to highlight right now. I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, D'Manuel, and his Friday night dinners. All right, hey, this is D'Manuel. D'Manuel's the man, and he's like, well, let me just tell you a story to help you get to know this guy. So you remember the pandemic when the rest of us were like face first into a bag of Cheetos? We were just like sad eating. Yes, you remember that? Okay. Well, D'Manuel was not that guy. He instead was, what were you doing? Calling who?
I'm calling all of my contacts on my phone.
He
Every
called
single person.
Every single person on his phone. How many contacts do you have on your phone?
It was like,
You look like a
it was
popular
over
guy.
1,000.
Oh my gosh, that's giving most of us social anxiety just hearing it. Called over 1,000 people, some of whom you hadn't talked to in
years.
like your buddy Phil from like second grade.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Just to see how they're doing.
Right.
I heard that story. I was like, we have to hire this guy.
hire
Like,
this
I
guy.
don't even
We
know him,
must.
but he's amazing.
So D'Manuel's he's just a connector. Like, that's just who he is. He loves people. He loves seeing them get connected. So D'Manuel, I wanted to have you here to talk to us about what it looks like for people to get connected here at Crossroads.
Yeah, we have 100 groups around here in the local space and in your own cities, and we want to help you get connected in those places. So we have some people that's in Indiana, we have some people that's in Texas. We want to get connected with people. And so if you are looking forward to a group or people around you, shoot me an email and I can help you out with filling that out and getting people around you. And so I love connecting people, and I love getting people to know each other and to grow in the next place with together.
Yeah, we have like 28 regional leaders, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're everywhere. It's amazing.
D-Man, tell us about Friday night dinners. Tell us about how that got started, what it looks like for you guys.
Yeah, so one of my closest friends, Megan, had this dream after she moved back here to Cincinnati to open her house and just have people over for a meal. And so because she knows that through COVID I love to cook, and she's like, hey, can you come cook for us? And I'm like, yeah. So every Friday night we have a different theme. So in the clip there's a video of me cooking for tropical dinner. So I had to cook some kebabs and some stuff, and so it was really fun just to actually get to be a part of that, because as I'm cooking, I get to have a conversation with people just over as I'm cooking, and people love to help. And so through that, I get to have a conversation of like, how are you doing? And how can I be praying for you along the way? And so I get to do a check-in just while I'm just get to cook at Friday night dinner. So it's been really good to actually get connected and to understand how can we make this somewhere not just in Ohio, but everywhere else.
So I guess the question is like, so what are we supposed to do with this info? Well, like, my answer is hopefully we make it more than just information, right? Like, hopefully we do it, that we use the thing that we already have, your table, and the thing you already have to do multiple times a day, eat, to connect and create community, right? So here are 3 ways you can try it for yourself. First, just grab a beer or dinner with a friend and intentionally take the conversation deeper. Like, bridge that gap between drinking buddies and genuine community. Second, consider starting an open house dinner in your neighborhood, in your dorm, in your whatever, maybe with your journey group. We're trying to get these going all over the country and think that they're an amazing opportunity for a disconnected generation. Like, so many people are lonely. This is a chance for us to connect. Thirdly, hey, I would love for you guys to join us in our upcoming community cohort. Like, that's 21 days to jumpstart community in your life so that you can grow in the area of community with teaching, with resources, with daily challenges, and with people to grow alongside you. It's designed to dive deeper into not just the what, but the how of building and experiencing community for yourself. Now, just some call outs. Like, I know some of you are like me, you're introverted and you're like, this sounds rough. Or you're like, my schedule's insane, or I don't know how to cook, or I hate brunch. I don't know. We're gonna talk about all of that in the community cohort. So just click the link below or follow the link, and we'd love to have you join us for our upcoming community cohort. It's going to be worth your time. Now, God doesn't want you to be alone. He wants you to connect and grow. And He gave you great tools like the table that can help you do that. So let's put that table to use in our life and recapture some of the beauty of the early church. Because after all, the church isn't a building, it's people, it's you and me. It's not something we attend on Sunday morning, it's who we are.
This is the last week of the journey, and hey, congratulations, you made it. You just completed something. That's a big deal. We don't often complete a lot of things. So you should feel great. This is week 5 of the journey. And you know what? This isn't the end, because just like Andy said, you can get in a cohort. You can take that next step into community.
They're so great. They're easy to fit into your life and take you to the next spot, which that's what we want for you. This journey wasn't like, hey, grow for 6 weeks and then, and then you're good.
Right, stop
it's
growing.
like get you moving, get you going. So keep going, keep growing. Also, when you grow, it can lead to you wanting to give. How about that?
Exactly. Right, you set me up for that. Thank you very much. You know what? Kyle threw to me because that's what our script said. But for real, this is serious. Giving leads to growth, because it's the one thing that takes us outside of ourselves, and we don't have time to get into why we should give and all of the spiritual life change. So we've set up a page that you can learn all about that, and you can give right there at crossroads.net/give.
We've got more for you right here next week.
Did you know that Jesus wants you to be happy? He really, really does. And today, I want to help you step into a practice, the practice of celebration, that can help you experience more of the happiness that Jesus has and wants for you.